to do is now go on Tristan's page.
So it should be live any second now. If you just refresh the page, the broadcast should now be live. The link.
We'll send you a text message about it. Wait, what? Perfect delegation. What do you want now, Tristan?
What do I want? I'd like you to share the broadcast. That'd be great. Thanks. That's what I'd like.
That one.
Yes, there should be one that's just live on my page. If you're struggling to find it, you can find it on any of our social media channels now, because I just posted it to all of them.
Hi Connor, hi Seamus. Howard's come in as well. Howie's in there.
So just sharing out on Facebook Live from a networking event through Buffer, filmed from over there.
I'm not brushing my beard while we're here.
Okay,
Okay, right.
so I'm going to run through a whole number of different things very quickly. I don't know if you might want to turn around, unless you don't want to appear on camera. You can also watch this back later if there's any bits of advice that you get today from this evening that you want to watch back later. This is actually live on a camera over there now with a microphone right by my mouth. So you should be able to pick up all the audio and you'll be able to listen back to it. If there's something you think, oh, I wonder what that was, you can go back and watch it later. It's now live, so hopefully some people have jumped on and have done the shares. I've just shared it here. So with live broadcast, it's a really good opportunity while you're live to engage with people. This is slightly different because obviously broadcasting, but the focus is on the people in the room, but also for you guys to come back and check later and get that advice. So I'm going to go over a few bits myself, but I'm also going to do Q&A, but we've got about 30 minutes to do this because I'm very conscious on the time so that Jenny doesn't have to stay any later than she needs to, because she's already had a long day. Some people joined us yesterday. We were in Brading and we went through a whole process of looking at how people run their business, and they put social as an addition to the business rather than it being a main part of their business. If you think, one major issue that people have with social media is that they see it as a way of losing time because it's an additional thing they have to do in their business. The way to get around that is to make it part of the business. So if part of your core process involves documenting what you're doing, it's not an additional thing. It becomes part of your process. So you're adding an extra step into something, it becomes part of the process, and it means it doesn't fall away when you get busy. Because if you make it an additional part of your process, at the end, do all of this and then document if you have time, guess what? When you get busy, you don't have time. So it will fall away. The other thing that people have a misconception of with social media is that they are looking for what is the platform I need to be on. It's not about a platform. They are all exactly the same. I'll say it again, every single social media platform is exactly the same. It is a place for you to market, to connect with your potential customers and your existing customers, to tell a story and to give information, advice and value. It's as simple as that. If you're trying to sell to people on social media, you will fail at social media. It is called social media because it is about relationship building. If you're not spending time building relationships, then your social media won't work. People tell me social media doesn't work. I spent an hour and a half on the phone to someone today convincing them that they need to be on another social media platform. I will invest that amount of time because I'm that passionate about it to show how it can be done. So I will talk through with people until they understand in their own terms about their own business how that works. Because I can talk generally about a topic, but if it's not specific to your industry, it's sometimes quite hard to see how you might implement it or how you might make it contextual to your industry. I'm going to use Snapchat as an example because it's the least understood social media platform. Most people also have the misconception that it's teenagers on the platform. Mum, what's your favourite social media platform?
Snapchat.
How old are you?
66.
Mum is obviously slightly an exception, but 2% of Snapchat users are over 55.
How many Snapchat users? Well,
Snapchat has, at the point they went to IPO, 156 million users worldwide. Within that, 73% of the users are over 18. So if that gives you an idea, that's a potential customer base that you're missing out on if you're not on Snapchat. People quite often think that if you, they say, oh, that doesn't work for my business, you no longer get to decide where to market your business. In the old days, you used to put an advert in the newspaper because that was the place everybody advertised, and that is how we've always done it. If you regularly, every month, spent £1,000 on a full-page advert in a print magazine, and you're doing it because you always did it, guess what? Snapchat wasn't big last year. Instagram wasn't big. They've got bigger. People's attention and focus has changed. The customer will always be right. Some of you have heard me talk about my experience with EE. They couldn't sell me something in the store because of their process. So I stepped out of the store and I went, so EE, tell me what's going on. I'm stood outside your store. I've been pre-approved for an account and you won't give it to me. This is now in front of hundreds of people on my page. I've shared it to EE's page, which means all EE customers have now just seen it. Guess what? 10 minutes later, EE rang me and fixed the problem. The customer has this in their hand. This is where their attention is. TV advertising, maybe not so much. Sat in front of the TV, Sean will probably attest to this. Left alone in the house, your youngest son, what's his go-to place to consume?
Oh, the computer, and it's YouTube, and it's...
So they're not choosing, the next generation are not going to TV. I want it now, I want it on demand, I want Netflix, I want that next thing.
And they want the choice. It's no longer about turning on, having to flick through and be talked at. They want to get on and interact immediately.
So it's effectively what they wanted to do. Does anyone remember the red button for TV? TV's interactive. That never really worked. That's what's happening now. That's what Netflix is doing. The reason that various businesses have gone out of business is because they didn't innovate and they didn't change with the times. Polaroid was a massive company, an industry leader, gone. Brought back, there's now a renovation in it, but it's not the same technology. It has actually been changed, and it's now a collectible item rather than a mainstream item. You can't be too big to fail.
Tristan, may I add credence to that, that just further to my youngest who's 14 and my daughter who's 16, the only time they use TV generally is to cast from their device to the TV to share it so other people
Can share the experience.
Away from their phone, then they go, I'll just cast it.
I'll just flick it up. So like Chromecast and things where you can share your screen from your computer or your phone up onto a TV. So the TV is now just a monitor.
Yeah.
It's a computer monitor for your phone, for your computer, for your tablets. Literally, you can now go, I was watching that Netflix, oh, I've really got to catch that bus. Great, fantastic, pause there, carry on here. And it carries on in the same place because I want that on demand when I'm going to watch it. That is how content is consumed, whether you like it or not. If you think you know where your customers are, I would challenge you, everywhere you don't think they are, go and spend time there. Somebody today told me their customers aren't on Twitter. 300 million users, not a single person could potentially be a customer of their business. Not sure that that's true. But they can't see, and people always say, my customers aren't there, they don't spend time there. These types of phrases are used. What they're really saying is, I don't understand how to use it to connect with my customer. You're only going to understand if you spend time there, and conversations are happening about your business everywhere, whether you like it or not. If you're not listening, someone could be running your business into the ground publicly without your knowledge. It's called TripAdvisor. Generally, people go there to complain, and the reason people go to TripAdvisor to complain, broken processes in business. If you work with the ethos of, if you've got a problem, tell me. If you haven't, tell your friends. And you take that into digital, we're in here, so I'm going to use a coffee shop as an example. Checking before somebody leaves if everything was okay, you have the opportunity to rectify it, and that person who has had a problem, who has it rectified before they leave, is a happier customer than someone who had a good experience and left, because you cared enough to notice there was a problem and to fix it. This is something that I went through last night with Tom in braiding. That is an advocate for your business at the moment. They walk out the door and you cared enough to stop and talk to them and find out and fix the problem. Relating it back to something I've had recently, TGI has just opened in Bournemouth. I went there with a friend because he was like, let's go TGI. I wasn't really fast. Went there and they're supposed to all be trained. It's a brand new restaurant. It should be the best experience we've ever had in a restaurant. It was not bad the first time we went. There were about 20 people in a restaurant for 200. So it was quite a good experience. The second time we went, it was not such a good experience. The third time we went, we actually walked out of the restaurant. But being someone from hospitality for 15 years, I went through the process that customers should go through, which is give them an opportunity to fix it. Excuse me, we're still waiting for our food. It's been 45 minutes and I've got 2 hours on the car park. If it doesn't arrive soon, I have to leave. I don't have a choice. Okay, I'll get that fixed. Still waiting. Called him back, said, there's no point now. You don't have time to fix this problem. We're leaving. Which also means we're not paying for anything that we've already had. We've had a starter and we've had cocktails from the bar and we're not paying for any of this because you failed to provide the service. And that's a reasonable expectation. It's a service industry. At that point, he did the right thing. Hats off to the manager that was on that day. Will you give me 5 minutes? I really want to fix this problem. Me and my friend looked at each other and went, we've been sat here for 2 hours. How's he going to fix this problem? There's no way he can get us the steak that was undercooked when it came out in that time. My food that was ruined and took 5 minutes on a griddle to cook. There's no way you can provide this. He went out the back, he got vouchers and said, please give us another try. Give us another opportunity. He was at the point that there was nothing he could do in that moment other than admit, we messed up today, come back. And there's nothing wrong with admitting you've done something wrong or you've got it wrong in your business. Trying to pretend you haven't when you have means that I will go outside and I will do this. And if they're teenagers, they will all do this and they'll get all their mates to share it. Specifically within hospitality, because people have a high expectation. It's easy for people to complain. If you're not listening and you're not engaging with those people, it doesn't stop at the door. If someone has a bad experience, they walk out the door, they're going to tell everyone they bump into on the way to the bus stop. Because they're really disgruntled, and people tend to complain more online than they tend to say nice things online. It's really easy to tip the balance. How was your meal? It was great. Fantastic. Did you know that we're running a competition online? Everyone who reviews our restaurant this month online, we're giving away a meal for 4. That was really easy. All I have to do is go and write a couple of lines. If you'd like, I can email you the links. With a client today, there's 2 links you can send, Google Plus and Facebook, and you can send them straight to the review section. They literally go, 5 stars, fantastic service. That was easy. Make it really easy for people. If they've had a bad experience, don't send them the link. Send them a link to a form where they can give you feedback. And then you can follow up and you can say, come in, I'd love to treat you on us, come back in, we messed up. Exactly what TGI did to us. Customer experience, they get to dictate where you have to spend time online and how you have to serve them.
Have you been back yet with your vouchers?
Not yet.
But you will?
We will go back and we will give them another chance.
What happens if you do get another bad experience?
Then I'll go to head office. Because that's the next step. I had a conversation, I had 2 meetings in here today, as Jenny said. I was in here upstairs this morning with 2 people, helping them with their businesses. Fantastic meetings, very, very keen people, took a lot of action. The reason I came to love coffee is not because Jenny's a member. Jenny's one of the only coffee shops in Newport that does almond milk. Because people are scared of nut allergies. Coffee machine's got 2 steamers. Where's the problem? You just have to be educated enough to know that side is for that and that side is for that. There's now not a problem with that. But people are scared and people can't be bothered. The service is not there. My choice of place to go and have an almond milk mocha is Love Coffee.
And she's a member.
And that's a USP.
Yeah. To me, that's the reason I come here.
Jug, so that's for the
So it's specifically different.
Just as a matter of interest for you, my wife is watching. It's quite immediate, isn't it?
So it's specifically labelled so that they can avoid the problem, because it is a problem. But it's not a reason for it not to happen. Last night, with our example of we went to a restaurant in Brading, and Connor and I, thank you very much Connor, played the awkward customers in a restaurant last night. The process went like this. We went through the whole process from booking a table to turning up, having the meal and leaving. And we've role played the whole thing, and at every point we went through the process, and Tom from the restaurant served us as he would serve a customer. He was obviously trying to do as well as he could because he knew we were going to grill him about it. And yet I said to him, at point 1 you are going to fall over. And I wrote on my phone what I thought the prediction was, and sure to the word it was exactly right. Connor made the call, so it wasn't me playing on it, so it was very specific. Here's the information you can give him, 2 lines. This is what you will tell him. Here's 8 lines of what you can tell him if he asks you the right questions. What happens if I try to book a table in a restaurant? You need to know more details than I need a table for 3 at 8 o'clock.
Does anyone have any food intolerance?
Yeah. What are your dietary requirements? Is it a special occasion? We'd like to suggest that you might want to go earlier or later because that time is busy. We booked, it was 7:30 I think was the time, because that's the most busy time in a restaurant. So his recommendation should be to suggest, because we don't know the restaurant's busy or not. We don't know anything about the restaurant, we're just booking over the phone.
How are you going to get there?
Contact information, which he did take the phone number. All of the details. The most awkward point in this, I'll fast track, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I'm going to do a recap video about it. He came to clear our plates. And the words from Tom's own mouth, I literally don't know what to do. He's been 14 years in hospitality. Do you know what threw him? That was it. Connor and I sat at the table like this. He tried to talk to us. We're not engaging with you, so how do you get our attention? It's really easy. I had Snapchat open on my screen, very visible, and Connor had Instagram open. If he'd literally said Snapchat or Instagram in a sentence, we'd have gone, huh? Attention to where we were. Oh, you're on Snapchat, so are we. If a teenager sat like this and they're ignoring you and you go, you're on Snapchat, you go, what? Restaurants on Snapchat? Yeah, I'll add you. People are doing that. It's a real thing. In situations, people's attention is where they want it to be. You want them to pay attention to you when you come over. You want people to be polite and you want people to be nice. Doesn't always work how you want. The customer is always right. For the customer, it's more important for them to watch. And the role play of that was, it was a friend's birthday who drank 8 bottles of wine and ended up in hospital and didn't come to the restaurant with us. It's the most bizarre situation, but the restaurant can't have an opinion about that. They can't judge him on the fact that he's in hospital and we still went out for a meal and had 7 bottles of wine in the restaurant and were drunk looking at our phones. They don't get a say in that. That's the situation. That's what's happened. So they then have to deal with something that they've never had to deal with before. And if you're rude to us, the other thing was, we talked about this, and all the things that you need to be aware of is, best way to get served really well in hospitality is open TripAdvisor, put it on the table. If I've got TripAdvisor open, you know I'm going to review your restaurant. If you're not good to me, this is 1 star. It's a really easy way to get served really well in a restaurant. If they're observant, they might not even notice. In the same way Tom hadn't spotted what was on the screens, we did this. Connor's brief was, and he's actually got it on his Instagram, even though he fixed his computers, a picture of an empty plate. And his brief was, I am an Instagram user with 500,000 people following me. Wouldn't that have been great information for the restaurant to know? Oh, fantastic. Did you want to have a look at the kitchen and get that picture up on your Instagram as well? Because now 500,000 people know about our restaurant and it cost us nothing. There's massive opportunities all the way through everything you do in business. So the processes that you did last week, last month, last year don't work today. It changes on a daily basis. Last year, Snapchat was teenagers doing what teenagers do. This year, Snapchat IPO'd. Prediction was $17 per share, and they finished 24.9 on day 1. 40% more than expected, and everybody thinks they're a social media platform. Does anyone know the company name? Snap Inc. They are a camera company. In the brief of what they do, they are Snap Inc. Anyone heard about Snapchat spectacles? It's a camera. It's a set of specs you wear that broadcasts what you see. It's like you're creating a virtual reality experience for someone else. As I walk around, what I see is what the viewer sees. So they've gone to tech and camera company when everyone thinks they're a social media platform. Social media is how they deliver. It is not a platform. It is a tool for telling that story. The same as Facebook is, same as Instagram is. How you tell it is slightly different.
IPO, can you explain that?
IPO is when you start. IPO is when you go public and you start selling shares in your company. Yeah.
I knew, but somebody asked the question.
Yeah. So the example I ran through this last night as well was I did a test to prove to myself as much as to all my clients that Snapchat has this amount of power. I was photographing at an event on Saturday night. The event was running a little bit late because they were still setting up. So, there's a big queue as I walked into the club. I thought, this is going to be easy. Let's set up a new Snapchat account. Set up a brand new Snapchat account, took the code, posted it in the Facebook event. And then I posted 79 pieces of content throughout the night, just 10 seconds, quick photo throughout the night, over 8 hours. I ended up with 80 pieces of content that the customer can use. Ongoing for the rest of this month to go, do you remember when we came to Brighton? Who remembers last Saturday? So they've got all this content for social ongoing, 80 pieces of content, 79 snaps, individual, and 1 video of the whole thing. 100 people consumed everything that we put out. Where else would you do that for free? It's exactly the same Snapchat have done for QR codes what everybody else failed to do. Inside of Snapchat, that little yellow box is how you add someone on Snapchat. It's also how you go to someone's website. I can put one of these on a sticker and stick it on the bus stops around the Isle of Wight, and I can guarantee hundreds of people will scan it, even though it says nothing other than it's a yellow box. Because if you're on Snapchat, you know what this is. If you're not on Snapchat, you don't know what this is. And you go, why is there this weird yellow boxes with ghosts on everywhere? But I don't need to tell you because you're not the people I'm going to connect with. In the same way, when you create the stories inside of Snapchat, you can see who's viewed them. It shows you how many people viewed your content, and you can directly speak to them. I could directly message this person. If I've told a specific story about my business and shown how to use something, and they look at it and they can comment or they can screenshot, and I know who's done it. I can say, if you want to win a meal for 4, screenshot the next snap in the story I'm telling. When they screenshot it, I can now message them directly. Don't have their phone number, don't have their email address, but I have direct access into their pocket. And when it buzzes, if they're on Snapchat, what do? The restaurant just messaged me. That's weird. Open it. Thanks a lot for entering, you just won a meal. Snap us back. Takes me 10 seconds to get that customer through the door. They come in for a free meal, what do they buy over the bar? Drinks. The meal costs not what their perception of their value on that is what they see on the menu, but the cost of it is a lot lower. And then they pay over the bar. Guess what? If you're a new restaurant and you did this, restaurant's full.
And then you share it.
And if they're on Snapchat, what are they going to do when they come in? Here's my meal, won this, 4 free meals, yeah! They've now just told all their friends, thanks a lot. And if they're active on it, they'll have hundreds of people following them. So they start advocating, as I said on a Facebook Live earlier this week, be good at your job and do good customer service. Let people advocate for your business. It's exactly why networking works.
So would you say then that Snapchat has become a sort of 360 full colour, all singing, all dancing Twitter?
So basically it's allowing people to do a whole range of different things. So I can message backwards and forwards with my mates, which we actually chat here, because it bumps my score up, which is one of the aspects of it, but that's not particularly relevant. For a business, I can talk to my customers. I know a business, in fact, if you look at the frame that that phone is in, the guy that runs the company that designs these in America does his customer service on Snapchat. Do you know why? If you ring customer service, how long do you spend on the phone? If you snap me, you're going to send like 30 seconds. I'm really unhappy with this, it broke. Fantastic, what model is it? It's fixed, 20 seconds.
But do you have to follow each other basically to make those messages?
So you...
How do I text, or how do I get in contact with, if I want to snap you, for example? How do I get in contact?
Do you have her phone number?
No.
If you had her phone number and you signed up for Snapchat and she's on it, it'll tell you. It'll say this person's here. If you've got phone numbers, if it's in a phone book, it will come up. You can add them by the little yellow codes by scanning them. You can add them by username. I can put a link on Facebook. So I can put a URL, snapchat.com/ad/ImTristanG. Goes straight into my Snapchat. And it's what's called a deep link that if you look on the computer, it will go to Snapchat's website. If you look on a phone, it goes, oh, mobile device. Have you got Snapchat installed? Yes, add as friend. No, go and download it. It's intelligent enough that that's why they're growing so quickly. To give you context of the engagement level on Snapchat, Snapchat receives the same number of video views as Facebook. Snapchat has 156 million users. Facebook has 1.6, 1.8 billion. Which one's more engaged? It's 11 times more engaged. So why are we going over here going, oh, we'll push all this content out over here. When I do this, I put out 5 Facebook posts and get 100 people connecting with me. One person who was in the front of the event sent us snaps all night. What did they just do for me? Created more content for me. Thanks a lot. You shot an angle I wasn't there. Now I can just save that, plug it to my computer, download it, and now that's content we can use. Thank you. So what did I do? They just sent me 20 snaps. Fantastic. And they obviously like this MC who's on the stage. He came off the stage. What did I do? Went backstage and went, could you just say hi to Jasmine? And he literally, 10 seconds of that artist's time. Hey, Jasmine, thanks for all the snaps. How did she feel? She could never have spoken to that artist like that, and she could message back. She could have a quick conversation with him in real time. It's personal. The conversations this morning were, I've been here, I've been sat with 2 people inside the cafe today doing face-to-face meetings and talking about their business. If I'm not on the Isle of Wight, I can still go face-to-face. Snapchat, Sean sent me videos on WhatsApp, Messenger, video chat, appear in, Twitter. Skype. Twitter. We can do video on Twitter. I can go face-to-face with people even when I'm not here. It's the next best thing to being in a room with someone because you can see expressions.
Can I share something with you on that specific point? My 18-year-old the other night nearly had a blue fit with me when talking about the interaction and the social interaction.
Yep.
Where I was saying this face-to-face is really necessary to build that relationship with people. And he just laughed at me. He said, "What year are you living in?" He says, "I have friends all over the planet talking in different languages and interacting through Snapchat, through Facebook, and through the different mediums." And he says, "I know more about them than you probably do about me." I had to sit with that and go, is that true? And in the last year, probably yes. So when they're 18 to 20 to 25 to 30, they're connecting globally quicker than even me just picking a phone up and having a chat with somebody. It's gone weird, but really, once you embrace it, I think it's fantastic.
So that face-to-face engagement can happen in person, it can happen on a social media platform, it can happen how Sean and I do it. We're both really busy. So I can send Sean a message in the morning and he might be busy till lunchtime. He then video messages me back. I get to see his reaction to what I've said and hear what he's got to say, and then I respond when I come out of my next meeting. We have not a real-time conversation, but it is real interaction. I've talked to you all about use your voice. Do it on video, you've now got 2 pieces of content, 3 pieces of content, your whole month's worth of content, if you know how to use it. The reason I'm wearing a microphone for that camera over there is how good quality is the audio going to be, therefore how good is the transcription going to be. I can put subtitles on it now. In fact, I don't even have to do that because Google will do it for me, thanks a lot. So when I upload it to YouTube, they'll transcribe it, which gives me written content. I just wrote a blog about Snapchat and their IPO while I talk to you. Now tell me why you can't do it.
I sent my first audio email the other day. Just recorded it on the phone and sent it off by email, and the person I sent it to came back and said, perfect, great quality. Yes, they have to have the volume up, but if they're here and reading it, listening to it, it's easy. It's already on.
Sometimes, you know, I'm doing it and he said, sorry, I can't give you audio to send you the text, so I just then use Siri.
And do voice to text.
Yeah.
Depends on the situation because it's not always convenient. The other downside to using audio or video, if you're messaging backwards and forwards, is if I need to go back and look at something, which is why if Sean's messages me and he goes, yeah, cool, are we still good for Friday? Could you send me an email? Will be my reply. Because I need to be able to find that information and search for it. But it's most chit chat, you don't need to go and look back through. When there's something that's important, make it into text because then I can find it.
Nothing more annoying than those messages come and then you think, where did it come in? Can't
Yeah.
find it. You know, that's happened to me a few times.
The other thing is that people talking about social, and I say they're all tools, not platforms, is when you put content on social, if you go to Google and you type in FA, what's the top result? Social media content is available as search results. If you're not on social, you have to SEO the hell out of a website to get it up anywhere near the front page. Facebook's already there. If you search for my name online, the top 3 results are my social media platforms. I don't care that my website is further down. I will always send people to my website so I can track where they're going and what they're doing. They can go tristangriffiths.com/Snapchat. It sends them to my Snapchat account, but I know that they've done it. So if they don't connect with me, I can deliver them something later. Or in a week, I can deliver them an advert on the side of Facebook that's a video saying, I see you're on Snapchat, I'd love to give you some free downloads. It's a bit weird, but something's free, thanks. Click, now I've got your email. You can move people through the progression by knowing what they're doing, but you have to listen, you have to be aware what everybody's doing to make it happen.
Yeah.
Any questions? Because it's bang on 9 o'clock.
So, quick one I have for you then. Information's everywhere.
Yep.
What about implementation? Because the conversation we have over and over
Yep.
again about information's everywhere, it all sounds great, but someone's got to make it happen. Who would that person be, Tristan?
Concentrate on what you're good at and delegate everything else.
Just like having an accountant, bookkeeper.
You've got no problem employing an accountant to do your accounts. Why would you think that you should do your social media if you do not know it like the back of your hand?
We delegate to each other.
Yeah.
You know, because,
But also, there's exactly this, you can trade services. If someone drinks a lot of coffee, it would be really easy for you to say, come in, unlimited coffee if you run my social media. They might work from in here and do work for other clients. Fantastic. You just saved them money. To get a client to pay an amount of money for a social media person doing their job, quite hard. If I can come in and have paninis and coffees, I'm not realistically going to be in here all the time, so it works for you. It's also a lower cost for you than what it costs me to buy it. So to me, if I buy a coffee, it's £2-3. Panini, I'm looking at another £3 or £4. So every time I'm doing that, I'm getting towards the tenner. If I was going to charge you a few £100 over the space of a month, this is a really good trade. Because to you, it doesn't cost you £10 to give me that, but you get that service that I value at that price. Everybody thinks that money has to change hands to make things work.
what's the tax implications of that?
It depends if it's done through an alternative currency network. If it is, you'd have to declare it
But if
as
it's
actual
just-
currency.
If it's just as a trade?
to barter. As long as you don't discuss a currency amount on it, I'll do this for you if you do that for me. It's like a favour.
I negotiated someone to do some removals in return for me doing a vector graphic for them.
Exactly. And so you can get what you need from people as long as you've got something you can give them. And actually, you don't even have to have it. If I know someone that needs Sean's services, I can get Sean can do services, and we can go into a triangle where everybody gets something out of it. It doesn't have to be direct one-to-one. It's exactly the reason networking works.
Yeah. Years ago there was a system all over the country, but in the island, where you pay people in white.
Yeah, and then
And
it's...
my friends do it in Taunton, they've got a different way of bartering there. So
What they do is they put a value of it, but it's not currency.
Building done, but you're giving your service to someone over there, and then they're doing it to there, and you're on the Isle of Wight.
Time banking.
It's
It's
I
time
don't know
banking.
what's happened to
There
it,
is
whether it
something
goes
on the
anymore.
island, or it was happening recently. Yes. Yeah, is it still going?
And that was a bartering thing, but then
But there are actually alternative currencies that effectively do that. I'm part of an alternative currency network that's a global network, so you can do that. Yeah. It's the same way as people go, pay me on PayPal and just send it as a friend. It's an electronic money transfer that is traceable by the tax office. Why do you think you're getting around it? Unless you're Google, you're paying tax. Pretty much.
Easy, Tiger. You're right.
It's a real story.
Oh, yes,
It's a real story. It's in the news. So
Very real story.
the reality of it is there are other ways to do business in the same way. Used to be about newspaper, used to be about magazine, used to be about print. I would never say to anyone, stop doing that. Everyone has this perception I work in digital and I think that print is dead. Absolutely wrong. I think that if you have £1,000 regular budget on print, try something else. Go to a half-page advert, 500 quid, and put the 500 somewhere else. Try it for a couple of months. Does it work? No, go back. Or try something new. If you're not trying it, you don't know whether it's working. People who outrightly say to me, this doesn't work for my business, have you tried it?
Well, the upscale of that is make sure your half-page advert has got all your social media on it.
So that they can follow the rest of the story.
And then on your social media, make sure that you can direct people to your half-page advert in whatever the platform is.
My number one for print is how good is your print advert? It's all very well bringing up awareness and people knowing about you. If you're not sending them through a specific link so that you know they came from that magazine, you don't know it's working. We put out 52,000 copies of the Isle of Wight County Press. How many newspapers do you see outside of a newsagent's being sent back? You might publish that many, doesn't mean that many get read. Some people buy it and never get all the way through the newspaper. Life gets in the way. On a website, I know where you've been.
do it online.
So when you do it with a print advert, the call to action always has to be go somewhere where I know that you came from the print advert. For a physical location could be tear this page out and bring it in. Unfortunately, a lot of print magazines don't like that because the advert on the other side becomes not worth anything.
They said, oh, I could put a code on there that people quote, but they would have physical cutout.
Yeah.
And I wanted physical cutout, so now I know that that's
A really good example of this is if you don't, and we have a client who does this, if you don't have anyone here called Sally, get them to say, Sally sent me when they come to the checkout. And then you give them the discount or the offer. Because you know where they came from, and when you press the button that says Sally on it, you're now tracking it through your till system. So you know the print advert's working. It's the same with social. If I go on Snapchat and go, do this, the call to action sends you specifically to somewhere. It's the same as when you see an advert on digital. If I click that, I can track that you came from Facebook to there because Google Analytics will tell me. You came from Facebook to there, from which page on Facebook to there, I know exactly where you came from. So you need to know that, because how do you know what marketing is working?
Jen had a
Done.
question, didn't she?
Yes. Did you want to just do your question quickly? I'm conscious
yeah,
on the
it was
time.
only
So.
that I wanted to update my Facebook page.
Yep.
With advert, which is coming up. We've got the camera screen milkshakes.
Yep.
And I had it all set up, and I tried to click on it, and then I ended up on my actual computer screen.
Yep.
I wanted to get rid of the magic cups, which was on my Facebook,
Yeah.
and replace it. And then when I looked at my computer screen, I had the magic cups looking at me on my actual computer screen.
So was it? Are we talking about the cover picture?
Yeah, I'd saved it as a cover picture, thinking it was then going to be on my Facebook cover picture.
Yeah.
But it was on my computer screen.
Okay. So that
Saved it as a screensaver,
on the desktop.
basically.
so it had been saved as a desktop.
So yeah, I ended up, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, if I was going to say, if it hadn't done it within the Facebook browser, when you put one up, you also have to say save, because when you put it up, it asks you to move it to make sure it fits properly. So that's part of it. But if it was on the computer, it would be just the difference between the browser and doing it, because you might have had two windows open and clicked on a box that meant you were in the computer, not in the browser. That sounds like what's happened.
Yeah.
But if it's on Facebook, just make sure you save when you make an update to a cover picture or a profile. Another way to drive engagement, talking about cover pictures and profile pictures is the best way to do that right now. You might notice a picture at the moment is me and Sean. I didn't update that. 2 days ago, I put a different one up and went 2 days. Temporary picture. Means that in 2 days it changes back. So I got, everyone noticed when it changed and everyone noticed when it changed back. I got 2 interactions from one thing I did. They put it in the feed and it takes up a massive amount of space and shows people, Tristan just changed his profile picture. There's no call to action on that, but you go, oh, okay, cool. If the profile picture has a caption on it as well, you go and click it to see what it is and the caption pops up. There's my call to action, free advert on Facebook. When you put it up through your phone, you then have to go back into it and edit it and add the caption. You can't do it at the point you upload it, but you can do it there or on the computer. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic.